Good
Morning.
morning. She's like this. Zen.
So, how are you guys?
How are you? Please type in the chat box. Do you still have a keyboard on your laptops or maybe on your mobile phones? Say hello, good morning, dobro utro, guten morgen, kalimera. For people, it's okay. Yesterday will be Nate. You already had it's Tuesday. I can imagine Wednesday maybe it's going to be Clementine and me. Anyway, Svetomir, as always, he have a high energy. Astrid is here also. I know why Astrid is excited, my love. Tomorrow she's coming back to Cyprus.
Oh, nice.
And by the way, Astrid, we have a surprise for you. On 30th of October, we're going to have a party in Limassol with our friend Monica Pierido. Guten Morgen, Austrian girl. Good morning, good morning. Now I look like exactly like this kind of teenager streamers. Good morning, guys. How are you doing? Anyway, Kalimera, Stavro. Nambu kamnete hola. Anyway, my love, you can start to talk because I still didn't drink my coffee. Anyway, let me take my coffee message of the day. First of all, oh my God, this is too long. Happiness depends more of the inward disposition of mind than of outward circumstances. Yes. So, let's talk.
So, this morning we are having Pat with us, and she will talk to us about how we can increase our self esteem and reduce our stress and being more intuitive about eating. So, let's read.
Yeah, I do my tea. Pat just ask how is the weather in Cyprus, and we say it's getting cold. It's like 27, 28. And she said yesterday for her was very cold there. I don't know how it's in Bulgaria, but as I think most probably in Shumen it's very cold. In Sofia always. It's maybe 20 degrees, but don't worry guys, we're gonna give you our warm energy.
Yes.
Good morning, Pat.
Everyone. Hey, everybody.
Good morning.
Hope everyone's having a great morning with their cup of coffee or a cup of tea. Some
Yeah.
warmth, maybe. Okay.
So we have 8 people like yesterday, so everybody are awake. Always sunny, yes, Tritumir. Always sunny in Shumen. I've been there 4 years. You have amazing winter. Oh, Ave Maria. Anyway, sorry. Yes, Pat.
I hope all our days are always sunny, inside out. All right, so let's start a little brainstorming discussion. Let's see what we have to say about intuitive eating. When I say intuitive eating, what's the first thing that comes to mind? And for the people behind the screen, we'd really appreciate your participation as well, and our hosts can read the comments. So what is intuitive eating? Clementine, Casimir?
Like when you pay attention about your body, what it's telling you, like when you're hungry or when you feel full.
100%. Krasimir, would you like to add something?
Okay, but when my body tell me Krasimir needs sweets, is that okay?
Of course that's okay.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So now I feel better.
Yeah, so just like Clementine and Kras mentioned, intuitive eating is about listening to our body's cues. It's about making food choices from the inside out, as opposed to what the diet culture tells us. You know, some foods are good, some foods are bad, why we should eat this, why we shouldn't eat that, why we should eat this amount and not those amounts and stuff like that. So it's about listening to our body, honoring our hunger, honoring our fullness, and doing what makes us feel good. And this is, dieting actually is counterintuitive. We spoke a lot over the past 2 sessions on the side effects of dieting, and that when we diet, our body actually fights against it. When we diet, our body fights to maintain and to bring back the weight at which it is most comfortable at. So dieting and extreme restriction is actually completely out of our nature. It's not innate and it's not intuitive. And each body is different. So today we're going to go over the 10 principles of intuitive eating. Why do we do that? Why are we talking about intuitive eating? Because on the long run, as Clementine was mentioning, this increases our self-esteem. This increases our compassion towards ourselves. And thus, when we have more compassion towards ourselves, we automatically have more compassion towards other people. This makes us feel comfortable in our own skin, increases our body image, reduces the stress around food. Because guys, believe it or not, even if we don't diet consciously, like let's say I'm not following a keto diet or I'm not following an Atkins diet, but there's so much stress involved around food that we're not aware of. Because subliminally, we're always bombarded since we're young children, with messages on how to be skinny and how to look, and you're supposed to look a certain way as opposed to looking another way. And all those are stress factors that really affect us mentally. They affect our sleep, they affect our mood, whether we're aware of it or not. And this is why it's very important to make peace with food and not to demonize certain foods, as good or as bad, right? And we're all naturally born as intuitive eaters. Like the best example of an intuitive eater is a toddler. Children are very in tune with how full they are or how hungry they are. When you
But
breastfeed a child,
chocolate. The small children they eat a lot of chocolates. Okay, because of the grandmothers, but
I will give you an example on that in just a moment. So toddlers and infants know when to stop eating and when to start eating, and we cannot force them to overeat or undereat because they're so in tune with their body, right? They're still too young. They're not affected by the diet pop culture. They're not affected by what we tell them as parents they should eat or should not eat, or by the grandmother and stuff like that. Ironically, Krasimir, research shows that, this is for all the parents out there, research shows that when children, specifically 8 to 10-year-old kids, are left to eat what they want to eat, on the long run, they have a healthier relationship with food, and they naturally maintain a healthy weight, as opposed to when we try to impose too much restrictions. Because when we as parents, I know the parents have the best benefit of the child in mind, but when we try to impose and restrict certain foods, like you cannot have that cookie, you cannot have that donut, before you finish your plate of broccoli, for example. So we automatically start to associate 8 degrees and Sophia, hot in heart. Fantastic. So we automatically associate dessert or like sweets with reward systems, like I have to be good in order to deserve my piece of cake. But when we leave our children to actually pick their own food, on the long run, they will balance out. And this was like a big revolution in research, because they actually found that over the weeks, everything that the children ate was healthy. It was balanced. There was not a single child who would eat candy the whole time. When they were given the opportunity to eat candy the whole time, at some point they refused the candy themselves. At some point they chose to go for a little bit of variety with veggies and dairy and fruits and stuff like that. So our children are the most intuitive eaters out there, and we have to nourish that and not be too imposing. And because unfortunately children begin dieting as young as 8 years old. I mean, this is a crazy number. Imagine an 8-year-old starting to watch their diet, and it's not necessarily our fault as parents, but it's, again, the diet culture that we live in. Cool?
I have a question. So as we are all the time having all of this subliminal message about food, like 8 years old, they already start to watch TV, they also go to school and everything. How they can be still intuitive about their eating and not get all of this message and start to, not being able to discern what is good for them or not?
They will still be affected. And people or children who grow up in cities are automatically more affected than those who grow up in, let's say, more suburban or village areas where there are not many billboards and magazines and, all those ads. But it's up to us as parents not to encourage those eating disorders or eating behaviors, because actually these are all eating disorders, by the way. When we're so adamant about what we eat and we start to count calories, when we start to have like a certain image in mind, a body image that we want to attain, this is considered an eating disorder. This is a mild form of eating disorder. So it's our job as parents not to nourish or nurture those diet beliefs, Like we have cookies around the house. So treat your children like an open buffet sort of thing. So let's say you're having lunch, have whatever. Let's say we're having cookies and having pasta and broccoli. Allow your children to grab the plate and scoop what they want. Give them the freedom of choice to eat what they want when they want. Maybe they want to start with the dessert first, and that's completely okay. My parents used to go berserk on me when I used to go for dessert first, but I still do that. I love going for dessert first. It's something that makes me feel good, so why not? You know what I mean? So we give them the freedom of choice. We're all affected, unfortunately. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll get into it.
We have a question, but do you think it's okay to, or you want to pass through all these kind of intuitive eatings and then to answer the question?
We can go for the question, and then let's go for the question.
Okay.
I had to finish my plate always, and the portions I ate were enormous. I still do it. Absolutely. We were actually talking about that in one of the previous lives with Krasimir and Clementine. How can you stop this? It's a mentality imposed by our parents, and it's very popular in Middle Eastern culture, where you're not allowed to leave the table before you finish the plate, and you gotta finish the plate because some children are starving somewhere elsewhere. And how do we do that? I actually broke free out of that by following the 20% rule, meaning that I always left something on my plate. About 20% of the plate, I would leave it unfinished, and I would save it for later as leftovers. So this is something that you can do. And if you're at a restaurant, it's always like we suggest to share a plate with whoever it is that you're dining with, so that, let's say you're leaving something in your plate, the other person can have it in exchange. So like you share plates. Okay, so shall we begin with our principles?
Okay, after we have more questions, so take
your
time.
No problem. Okay, because there are 10 principles and I don't want to rush through them, and I'm going to try to squeeze them. But we already spoke about them a little bit on the previous live, so it was a nice warm-up. The first step, and it's the most difficult step to achieve, is actually to reject the diet mentality. As Clementine was previously mentioning, that we're all bombarded with these messages, and it's very difficult for us as children, as grown-ups, as adults, to not be affected. We're all affected. Okay, so how do we reject the diet mentality? And I think it's very common for an intuitive eating practitioner to tell you that this is the number one problem that clients face, or challenge, I'm going to say, that clients face when they choose to go on an intuitive eating path. Rejecting the diet mentality is difficult because, you've been taught how to diet your entire life and how to restrict calories and not eat this and not eat that and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with the concept of paradigm, right? Yes. The paradigm shift was made popular by Covey in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And then it was, again, used by Bob Proctor, somebody we're all familiar with. So what is a paradigm? A paradigm is, the set of glasses through which we see the world. And my paradigm is different than your paradigm. How I view food is different than how you view food. And so we gotta, have a paradigm shift. We got to reject the diet mentality and the chronic need for dieting and weight loss and restricting. And how do we do that? First of all, we have to acknowledge the damage that dieting causes us. And this is something we spoke about last week, right? We spoke about metabolism in the long run. We spoke about mood. We spoke about weight gain and anxiety and stress, sometimes depression and eating disorders. So we already are aware of the damages chronic dieting can have on our body and can have on our, mental health. So the step one, I have like a fly. The step one is to reject that mentality, to acknowledge that dieting has long-term side effects. It might be good in the moment, it might be good for the short term, because let's face it, everybody loves seeing the number on the scale drop. It's exciting because you feel change, you feel like you're doing something new. So the first step is to acknowledge the diet backlashes, the diet side effects. And step number 2 is to be compassionate towards ourselves. So I understand that dieting leads to this, this, and that, and I'm choosing to love myself instead and not go through all of this stress, right? Acknowledge and choose compassion. Deal? And just a reminder, on the long run, diet also causes fatigue. It messes with our sleep. It messes with our menstrual cycle as women. It may cause hair loss and dry skin. So the side effects of chronic dieting over, years of continuous dieting, actually, they're sometimes very difficult to be reversible. So it's not a joke. Okay. So the first one is to reject the diet mentality. Let's say no to dieting. This is the one that takes the most time. This is why it's the first step. You lay the groundwork, you lay the bricks for the foundation for the entire work to come. Step number 2 is to honor your hunger. What does it mean to honor our hunger? We need energy, and energy comes from food. If I constantly ignore my hunger for different reasons, maybe I'm not dieting, maybe I'm a workaholic, or I have a lot on my plate and I feel hungry, but I choose to ignore it. The more we ignore our hunger, the more we lose touch with our hunger. The more we're no longer able to feel our hunger, understand what it is, when it is, what it feels like. I might not be able to tell what hunger feels like because I ignore it the whole time. And maybe I only feel it when it's an extreme. Okay? So we have to, first thing, how do we feel our hunger? We got to let our body know that food is always available. How do we do that? When we're hungry, we eat. If we're constantly denying ourselves food when we're hungry, what happens? Our body, our brain registers the message that I'm hungry, but food is not available. I'm hungry, but I will not be fed. I'm hungry, but there's no energy coming to me. So what will I do? I'm going to stress about it. I'm going to hold on to every calorie that you have, to the fats, to the sugars, because you're not feeding me. Food is not available. Okay? So whenever we're hungry, we have to feed ourselves. Always carry snacks in your purse. Have healthy snacks around the apartment in case it's not lunchtime yet or breakfast time, in case you follow certain specific times for food. And we have to, in order to understand our hunger, we have to first look for it. And again, that is also a process. It doesn't come with a snap of a finger. We have to look for our hunger. We have to feel the hunger in order to be able to rate it. Am I too hungry? Am I really hungry? Am I emotionally hungry? You know what I mean? So that comes with practice. But first things first, our body has to understand that food is always available. So far, so good?
Yeah. I've been in military school. And I get the fear because we always been hungry there for years. And for me, the food was never enough. And I think I have this problem with the sweets because when Clementine bring a big box, I need to eat all. And she said, I think you eat all because you're afraid that it's somebody will take it away from you or,
100%, absolutely.
So I'm like the doggy.
No. Interestingly enough, there was a study conducted on 32 ex-military men because they considered those men to have a strong psychological stamina and physical stamina. So they conducted the study where they allowed them to eat anything they wanted for 3 months, absolutely anything. And they had an average of 3,500 calories. They were given complete freedom to choose their food. And then afterwards, for 6 months, they were asked to lose 19 to 26% of their body weight. And so they had to restrict the calories. And what happened during those 6 months? They were registered to think about food more. They were obsessed with food. Even if they weren't eating, they were always constantly thinking about food. What am I going to eat next? When am I going to eat next? Their eating habits changed. Some people began gulping down the food real quick. Others used to savor the moment. Instead of having a burger in, let's say, 30 minutes, they would have it for literally 2 hours. They would really chew the food and pay attention because, they're restricting calories. They became very irritable and aggressive. And, all this is because they were asked to do one thing, and that is restrict their calories. So it is very normal. Anybody who goes through a certain restrictive period will then backlash at a certain point because, you want more and you feel like, oh, if I don't have it now, it will be gone,
Yeah. Okay. So not to keep you, we have many things to share.
Okay, let's make peace with food. This is the other point. Make peace with food, and that is giving yourself permission to eat unconditionally. So what does that mean? It means that if I want that cookie, I have that cookie. I don't have to earn that cookie. I don't have to finish a full plate of salad to have that cookie. I don't have to eat healthy for 3 days in order to earn a slice of pizza. Eat what you really want. Okay? Let's have a question. Let's think of, when I say bad food, what's the first thing that comes to mind? And you guys can also introspect on that.
Pizza.
Pizza is bad?
It's the worst.
Hamburger.
Everybody said the dietitians or the gym instructors said pizza is the worst.
Why is it the worst?
Don't know, because there are a lot of calories, because it's for everything unhealthy. It's on the pizza.
On the
That's what they
pizza.
said.
Okay, let's take it a step further. What is on the pizza? What is pizza?
It's white powder, not washing powder. White powder, cheese, tomato.
Is cheese bad?
No.
Are tomatoes bad?
No.
Is bread bad?
Ah.
You're just putting them all together.
White,
You know?
white bread.
I love, today's Tuesday. Pizza Domino, 1+1. We put children to bed and we order 2 pizzas for us.
Okay. So the thing is that too much of anything is not healthy. Believe it or not, too much of salad is really unhealthy. This is why we need to have a balanced diet. We need to have a little bit of absolutely everything. So the problem with pizza is not really pizza. It's the idea of having, a full pizza to yourself, as opposed to, let's say, having 2 slices of pizza with salad on the side.
That's my problem. I'm planning to have 1 big pizza, not to have 2 pieces.
Okay. Why are you having 2? Do you feel bad about it? That's the question.
No.
Okay, amazing. He is making his peace with food. What? What? Do you eat pizza all day?
No.
All days of the week?
No.
Thank you.
I didn't eat pizza for maybe 2 months.
That is, see, so you're having your pizza, you're enjoying your pizza. To feel satisfied, you need the full pizza, and you're going for it, and you're not feeling guilty, and you're not having every day. So this is considered healthy and balanced. The problem here is when, for example, you begin to have pizza every single day and you ignore other things, or it's when you have pizza and you feel guilty about it. When you make it, yeah. Clementine, what's something that you feel is unhealthy?
And you like it. And you like it.
Okay, all of this like McDonald's stuff.
You like McDonald's?
Yeah, I like it, but I kind of put in my mind that I don't like.
Okay, so whatever the food that we label as bad, we got to make peace with it. What does that mean? It means it's okay for you to have it. You don't have to have it all day, all days of the week, for morning, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but it's okay for you to have it. If I have McDonald's, it does not make me a bad person. It does not make me unhealthy. It does not make my willpower very weak. It doesn't mean I'm not successful. It doesn't mean my body image is woo. It just means I went for that McDonald's burger, and that is completely okay, right? Yes?
I can take everything except McDonald's, sorry. I buy only cappuccino, and I tell them, please, don't put me half foam of the cappuccino and the rest, because they're cheating there. Anyway, I control them. But okay, if you want to eat your McDonald's, don't complain after 2 parts. Yes, sorry, and go on, because we're getting very interesting, and we have a question here.
Okay, so the idea here is to not link our food choices with our self-worth. It's very common, especially amongst women, as research shows, to link food with judgment. Like, let's say we're out with a bunch of friends and we're ordering food. I want a burger, but what will the other people think of me if I order a burger? I gotta order a salad. I gotta order grilled chicken with veggies on the side, because what will they think? So we link food with our self-image, with our self-worth, with our morality, and we have to make this separation, We got to make this separation and really grant ourselves the permission to eat what we want to eat. Deal? When we want to eat, while honoring our hunger. This is the secret here. Honoring our hunger. And again, it's a practice that comes with time. Challenge the food police. This is another point. What is the food police, you guys?
Food policy?
Police.
Police?
Yes.
What is this?
I don't know. What is it?
It's very similar to the point that we were just speaking about. It's this voice inside of our head that tells you, Krasimir, if you eat that cookie, you're bad. If you eat that pizza, tomorrow you're going to have to run for 2 hours. If you eat that pizza, Clementine will look down on you. So you got to eat it behind her back. This is the food police. And our job is to challenge that food police. One exercise that we normally do is, literally when we're having negative thoughts around food, so just grab a piece of paper. You don't have to do it on the spot. You can do it later throughout the day. Grab a piece of paper, divide the page into two, write your thought, and then challenge it with a positive statement. Let's say, I feel fat. I feel fat because I ate a slice of pizza. And then I counter that with a positive message. I honored my body. I honored my hunger. I gave myself permission to eat what I want with a slice of pizza. I feel good about it, any negative statement that we have. And this is like how we say we have two sides, a little devil and a little angel. So this is like the devil voice that makes you feel bad and that makes certain foods associated with, feelings of guilt and not worthy, you're not worthy of having such a food or stuff like that. So it's challenging this food police and shushing him throughout the day. Okay? All food is good. Food is there to support us. Later on, we're going to talk a little bit about the spiritual value of food. What is food beyond the physical shell, beyond, the nutrients? So really, everything that you eat has some value in it. So let's just not demonize any foods and make them, forbidden, the forbidden fruit. Feel your fullness. Yes, Clementine, I'm going to say something.
Do you think also that according how you feel, you will be more attracted to some different foods?
Absolutely. This is why we say ditch the diet mentality, because diets are like, by pen and paper. You eat this on Monday at this time, you eat this on Tuesday, you eat this for 1 month and stuff like that. When you're an intuitive eater, you listen to your body. What I feel like today, I may not feel like tomorrow. What I feel like now, I might not feel like in 30 minutes. And it's very, it happens to me and George actually quite often when we're choosing a place to go out for dinner. And I can be like, okay, I really want sushi. And then like 10 minutes later, I'm like, no, I want like, Lebanese stuff. And he goes like what? How did you just want? I'm like, never mind. Just, let's go for Lebanese things. So it's really in the moment. So yeah. Feeling our fullness, another point. How do we feel our fullness? We got to listen to our body. And this is the practice that takes the most time, feeling our fullness and feeling our hunger, because it is very, very subjective. And only you yourself can understand your fullness and understand your hunger. If I yap about it from now until tomorrow, unless you experience it, you won't know how full you are and how hungry you are enough to eat or to stop eating, And it is completely okay to sometimes overeat, because food is comfort and food is pleasure. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about that in the upcoming points. Discover the satisfaction factor. What is the satisfaction factor? It's pleasure, right? Food gives us pleasure. We can't deny it. Food feels good. Why do we have certain foods that we love? Because it feels good. And we got to, again, give ourselves permission to, enjoy food. It's a blessing. It's a gift. And we want to focus a little bit on mindful eating when it comes to this point. So what is mindful eating? It's just like, taking a little bit of time while you eat to focus on the taste of the food, the texture, the aroma, the appearance, eye candy, and the temperature of the food. Those are small things you can focus on in order to discover the satisfaction factor. Why do you like that food? What does it make you feel? What does it taste like? What's the texture? Is it crunchy? Is it smooth? Don't be afraid to enjoy food. This is like the rule of thumb. And we have the Japanese, I think, culture to thank for that, because they're very adamant about the pleasures of living, and food is one of the simplest pleasures of life, right? Coming up is
before to make the next life with Pat, we need to have a breakfast. Now I am starving. Because all the time we talk about it, and my imagination is, oh my God, bring me to pizza, to chocolate, to this, to that. Look. Anyway, yes, sorry, just to share.
No problem. Okay. Coming up next is the point of coping with our emotions using food. It's very, very common, and Sabine had that question last week. It's very common for us to use food as a coping mechanism. And I'm going to talk a little bit in detail about what happens when we use food to comfort ourselves. So we use food to cope with emotions such as anxiety, boredom, loneliness, anger. These are the most, common types of emotions that would allow us, or that would trigger overeating or indulging in food. But why do we look for food when we're having when we're being emotional? We have sensory gratification. Sensory gratification can be, it's one of the senses. So you want to satisfy the taste. You sometimes want to satisfy the eyes. You look at food before you eat it. You touch the food. You crunch. It's very common when somebody goes for comfort foods. They go for something they can crunch, like chips and popcorn. They go for something they can bite, like a burger, because that is a physical way of releasing some emotional tension. Biting a burger, biting a bagel, chewing, as opposed to having mashed potatoes or a bowl of soup. You know what I mean? So we gotta, when it's sensory satisfaction. So basically, I'm gonna mention 3 points to see which one we fall into, so that we understand how we can cope with it better. If we're somebody who looks for food as a sensory gratification, let's find ways to replace that. For example, if I just want something that tastes good, you got to ask yourself that question. So it's a small introspection exercise. When you're being emotional, when you're angry, upset, whatever the emotion is that triggers your overeating, what do you look for? Is it the sensory gratification? If it is, have something something that would satisfy your senses in a different way. That could be, as silly as it is, a photo of your cat. Let's say your cat is the most beautiful thing ever. My cat is the most beautiful thing ever. She's perfect, okay? So if you admire a photo of something that you think is so beautiful, you're giving your senses, you're giving your eyesight the gratification. You're shifting your focus from the gratification of staring at food before eating it, and you're staring at something else that is beautiful. You're taking your mind off of the problem. Okay. By the way, by no means do we encourage not dealing with your feelings. I mean, dealing with the feelings is the topmost priority, because you're overeating or because of emotions, because of stress factors. So even if you don't deal with them on the spot, you have to give yourself permission to actually say, okay, I'm not going to think about my emotion now, but I'm going to think about it later, but you have to deal with the emotion. Definitely. Food is not an escape. It might be used on the moment, but it is not an escape. By all means, do face the emotion. Back to sensory gratification. If I am looking for food because I want something that tastes sweet or tastes salty or tastes bitter, think about the foods that you crave or that you go for when you are emotionally eating. And then start to replace them with healthier options or something that is extreme. Let's say you're somebody who goes for sweets to cope with the feelings of sadness. Have something super sweet. So you'd have 1 tablespoon or teaspoon of honey, for example, and that is so sweet. Or like a date. Dates are super sweet. It's very difficult to overeat on dates because they're too sweet. So have a piece of date with you. Have that date, and you satisfy that, craving for sweet stuff. So understand what it is. Is it like the touch? Understand what it is that you are looking for in terms of senses. Other foods or other reasons why we overeat or indulge in food as a coping mechanisms is comfort. And comfort is linked to what our parents used to give us when we were upset as children. So that's generally things like mac and cheese or chicken soup, anything that will remind us of our childhood, a hot cup of chocolate, anything. So we got to think about that and see if we can replace it with something else or just have it at hand. It can be a teddy bear, it can be a fluffy blanket, it can be a nice photo, whatever it is, So we can be looking for comfort. We can be looking for food as a distraction. And here's where it becomes a little bit dangerous, because when we get distracted, we're shushing the emotion. We're not giving ourselves the green light to feel our anger, to feel our pain, and we're just saying, yeah, I'm gonna eat my pain away. Literally, this is what the saying is: you eat your pain away. And here, if you use food as a way of distracting yourself from the emotion, you got to find another way to distract yourself. It can be anything. Honestly, it can be something. It can be scrolling through an Instagram feed or a Facebook feed mindlessly, because this is what you do when you use food to distract yourself. It's the same thing. You're just using another thing. You can read a book. You can have my personal favorite work actually was audiobooks. I always had audiobooks with me, so whenever I'd get angry or upset, I have that book with me, something I listen to, and I completely forget why I'm angry, and then I deal with it later on. It's very important, again, to deal with your emotion. And the next two types of using food to cope with our emotions are the most dangerous ones, and they're sedation and punishment. Sedation is when we want to numb our feelings. I don't want to feel, so I'm just going to stuff my face with food, and I don't want to feel. And this is very dangerous. Why? Because this easily leads to addiction. This is a form of, when we use alcohol or drugs or nicotine to just numb our physical senses. And as a byproduct, we forget the pain. And, punishment, the same thing, is when you punish yourself with food. Like, I feel angry and I'm angry that I'm angry, and so I punish myself. I'm not worthy, Self-loathing is associated with this. And here, what do we have to do to fix all of that? We have to seek nurture. We have to seek nurture, deal with our feelings. What is nurture? It can be on the spot. Give yourself a hug. Honestly, it's as simple as giving ourselves a hug. I think right now, in times of COVID, it's very inappropriate for me to say to go and hug somebody. I would totally do that, but hugs are super wonderful. What is nurturing? Nurturing, loving yourself. It doesn't have to be on the spot, but when we're too emotional, it's often an accumulation of our needs not being met, our physical needs, emotional needs, spiritual needs, whatever they are. So when we give ourselves time to sort of relax, have a bubble bath with, candlelight, sleep in, go on a nice hike, whatever it is, pet your cat for 3 hours straight, I don't know. Give yourself permission to wind down. Give yourself some love, go for that, mani-pedi if you're a woman, I don't know. Whatever it is that makes you feel pampered, go for it. Because all those things on the long run contribute to lifting food and removing food as a coping mechanism to our emotional eating. Okay, I'm gonna add one more thing before I move to the next point, and then I'm gonna go through the rest real quick. The best advice I can give with emotional eating, because it's something that I think we all have to a certain extent, the best advice I can give is to ask yourself this question: what is the lesson? What is the lesson? It's a spiritual tool, it's a self-help tool. Every single situation that we're faced with, every single thing that makes us angry or upset, every single person that makes us angry or upset is about us and not about them. They made me angry. They might have said good morning, and I was like, oh, what a douche. Why'd you say good morning? You know what I mean? So it's all about me. If you are triggered, it says something about you. So ask yourself, why am I triggered? So shift your focus from whatever it is that you're doing and just take one moment to see what's the lesson here. You might find it on the spot, you might think about it later on, but this is the most important aspect, I think, of any reaction that we might be feeling. The next 3 points, I'm going to go through them real quick. Respect your body. Your body deserves to be loved and fed and taken care of. You deserve to be wearing nice clothes, whatever that means for you. You deserve to feel good in your body, the way it is, any way it is. And then we have feeling good about exercise. So it's amazing to exercise, but do not make weight loss the primary goal of exercising. Focus on how good you feel when you exercise, Exercise is a way of self-care. It's a way of fun. Be mindful when you exercise, which muscle am I working? How do I feel? Really, really focus on the feelings behind the exercise, as opposed to, I'm doing it to lose weight. I'm doing it to lose weight because it becomes a chore, And the last point is honoring your health with gentle nutrition. What is gentle nutrition? It's focusing more on the quality of foods. I deserve to eat fruits and veggies that are freshly picked as opposed to shipped all the way from Australia. I deserve to eat enough fish because it has healthy fatty acids and protein is good for me. I deserve to drink a lot of fluids, and we spoke about the importance of water in our first talk. I deserve to limit my processed foods because processed foods generally have certain nutrients retained from them. So you deserve the good quality of foods. Focus on giving yourself the extra benefit of having good foods. Yeah, so I rushed through the last few points, but I've been yapping for 40 minutes, so we're done.
Now I discovered how I can eat 2 pieces of pizza. When I order the full pizza, I'm not going to cut it 8, I'm going to cut just 2. So I'm going to have 2 pieces of pizza, and I'll feel well. By the way, the question, which is quite big, so you can see what
Okay.
it's about.
Good morning. Interesting topic for me. My 8-year-old daughter seems to have an issue with refusing to try a new food. A child psychologist friend of mine told me it could be a sensory thing or maybe the only thing she can control, so that is the psychology behind it. What recommendations do you have to get a child to try new foods by their own choice? Do not force it. Because when we force it, they might resist it more. The more we say, eat your broccoli, eat your broccoli, eat your broccoli, the more their brain will be like, I don't want that broccoli. I don't want it. I don't want it. Let them be. Absolutely. This is the advice that I can give. Our children are the most intuitive eaters. They probably know more about food than we do, honestly.
And what, for example, if I eat the broccoli and she see from me, and the mommy eat broccoli, she see it from her?
I don't understand that.
I mean, for example, my daughter doesn't want to eat broccoli, but when she see me eating broccoli and when she see all the family eating broccoli, maybe she would like to try this broccoli.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah, so this is again our role as parents to have variety around the house.
yes.
Yeah, and absolutely, I mean, children tend to mirror the parents' eating behavior. It doesn't necessarily have to apply to everything, so it doesn't necessarily mean that whatever the parent eats the child will eat, but some eating habits can definitely be picked up from the parents.
But I believe also if this girl, she's 8 years old, also see she's copying the people, I mean her students at school, yes?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
If they eat junk food, this is what she wants.
Yeah, schools, shape our children because this is where more or less they spend most of their time.
Our schools here in Cyprus, they are not famous with the healthy food. They give them pizza and stuff like this most of the time. Yes, so
that is okay.
Yeah. Okay, so that's it. And someone who is anonymous, I know who is he, but who is she? But
yeah, we can't see the names, by the way. I can't see the names at least. Okay, I do apply your advice to really taste the first bite of any food. Yay! I eat, and this really makes a difference. And Kassim and their objective of losing some weight. Fantastic. But again, like a small reminder is to not put too much pressure on losing the weight, and to keep in mind that the faster we lose the weight, the faster we gain it back. The more we take our time, the more gradual and natural the weight loss is. And remember, we spoke about the 4 factors. We can choose one factor to work on. The more long-lasting the effects are, because our bodies will fight it less. Remember, we spoke about the set point last week? The weight at which our body is comfortable. Do you remember?
Yes.
You remember? Okay, otherwise I'm really bad at this.
For example, Dimka, she said, I'm so greedy and I always want to try everything and cannot stop eating.
Yeah, this is where mindful eating comes in. And I do that, for example, if I want to have, let's say there are 7 dishes and I want to try them all, I really enjoy every single dish separately, and I feel every single dish to be able to, feel satisfied. So the more you're in tune with your food, the more you feel it, the more you taste it, as opposed to gulping it blindly, as we call it. Yeah. So the more mindful you are, the more you can eat, while honoring your fullness.
That's why when I go in the hotel, for example, I love to eat breakfast at least 2 hours. I have my breakfast for 2 hours at least because I like to try everything.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
thank you all. I think we need to.
Yes. We need
Go
to go
eat.
to eat. Do you have something for these lovely hungry people?
No, just like one small exercise that we're going to do. It's not really an exercise, but for next week, if you guys can take one principle of those 10 principles that we spoke about, if you want, I can write them down
That
as
will be
a
great.
small
Yes.
reminder. Just take one principle and try to practice it throughout the week. It's all about practice. See, feel the difference. Quite literally, but that's
Thank
it.
you, Pat.
Have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
week.
My problem is my big appetite. I eat quick.
Yeah, slow down. How do we slow down? Try not to swallow the food before you completely chew it. This is the first rule. Chew until there's nothing left and then swallow. And while you do that, while there's food in your mouth, put the fork down. This is shown to decrease how fast we consume our food by easily 60 to 70%, easily. So the more we take our time with food, you have more time to actually analyze yourself and be like, okay, I'm actually, I'm full. Because when we gulp, we overeat without noticing. So chew your food completely and put the fork or the spoon down while there's food in your mouth.
Amazing. Okay. Oh, eat without food, without spoon and fork. So, like in Bali, they eat with the hands. There.
Yeah.
Okay. Before to finish, I want to say tomorrow we decide next Thursday we're going to have a workshop in Paphos in T42, and Friday we're going to have a party again because Insight is coming in November, and we're going to have Insight again, guys. Everybody around the world, in Bulgaria, in Russia, in United States, in United Kingdom, they have Insight. So why Cyprus not to have Insight? And because Insight is an amazing place to be. We are going to make a workshop. We're going to introduce Insight and etc. etc. But before to finish, I would like to press my lovely video about Insight. Pat, thank you very much.
You guys.
Hugs and kisses to George, and see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.